Fitness Pro Mentor community, welcome to another episode. I am extremely excited because, as you know, we have a Fitness Pro mentorship all around marketing, one-on-one based, where trainers like you work with specialists like me, Glenn Taylor, and some other people to try and help figure out exactly where your business needs support. One of the honors that I get is I get to work with incredible people, colleagues, friends, and professionals, and one of which who I have a tremendous amount of respect for and has one of the best first names possible. Second name is... But first name, we got Mr. Brandon Davis, Holla Brandons. Brandon, how you doing today, sir?
Brandon, I'm doing great, man. It's a good name.
It's a very strong name. Regal, strong. No one's named Brandon these days.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Oh, honestly, I mean, when I was thinking about this, I mean, you're such a well-spoken professional individual, and I'm honored that you're a part of our community. So if you're okay with it, I want to talk a little bit about your experience with the mentorship, but also talk about your incredible business, Get NeuroFit.
Okay, let's do it.
So if you don't mind me asking, before we talk about really any of this stuff, how the heck did you end up where you are here now as a muscle specialist, resistance training, fitness professional?
Man, I will keep this concise. So I feel like everything started for me as an athlete who unfortunately got injured at an early age and just not finding just not having the right information, not having access to people with our type of thinking. I was only getting short-term results and unfortunately getting worse throughout my athletic career. And you know, I had a lot of potential and I loved it. But I mean, by the time I went to college, I mean, I had fractured my spine, you know, essentially twice. I was in a pretty severe car crash. Like all the stars aligned for me not to be able to play at a certain level. And then I think the magic in it, though, was just from there figuring out, you know, going through this kind of rehab process with my body, just the connection I felt with it, still being somewhat of a meathead and wanting to really check into my potential. But, you know, like I wanted to figure out how to essentially get myself back to health. And so from there, just meeting the right people and meeting some really cool trainers that were very insightful and intelligent with their approach, and then working with people that pointed me in the direction of MAT, RTS. And then from there, you know, on this path going into really this year, being introduced to Greg Mack and just his data collection and sales and the psychology of it, which has just been magic. And also being introduced to you. And I wanted to, really what brought me to you is wanting to push myself this year, you know, as somebody who was already pretty busy, was already making pretty good money, but I got busy very fast within the past few years of actually having my own business. And I didn't necessarily know how to keep things running fluidly, having the systems in place and staying organized. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, well, this is kind of the fun thing about you that I'm excited to explore is that we have a lot of students that come to the mentorship, as you know, that are starting off like really, really low, ground zero hours. And they're trying to figure out, hey, I've got this knowledge. I've studied a lot like you, but I don't have a lot of clients. I'm trying to figure out the holes in that system. But you are already a pretty busy guy. And someone might wonder, well, why would you even hire a mentorship program to help you get busy when you're already busy?
Right. Yeah. I feel like for me, I've never really had a problem with investing in myself or spending money in myself. Cause I feel like one, I know where I want my life to go. And I feel like with the aptitude I already have for this, and, you know, as somebody who was already in sales for a while in their 20s, but still with all the learning, with all the techniques, with all the knowledge I feel like I've gained, I definitely checking in internally was like, man, I feel like I'm missing certain pieces if I really want to take this to the next level and not just be somebody who's busy enough, because that to me is more mediocre. I wanted to get this thing fluid so I know how to actually quantify what I'm doing appropriately and put strategies in place to build this thing bigger picture to share the gifts I have inside of me.
I love it, man. Share the gifts inside of you. I love that. So before hopping in, working with us, what would you say the biggest hurdle or barrier you had that we were hoping we were going to be able to solve for you?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, now going through the mentorship and looking back, I feel like it is the I think it's the way that you guys approach our business, you know, setting yourself up for success, aligning yourself with other fitness professionals or people in town, a process of giving presentations and demonstrations and then having like a fluid follow-up. And, you know, I didn't necessarily have that. I was just like, hey, I'm a likable guy. I'm really passionate about what I do. And I'm really good once you're on my table or once I take you through exercise. But I could tell that there were certain pieces that I didn't quite understand. And, you know, I read a lot. I feel like I'm a pretty intelligent person for the most part, but yeah, I mean, there was definitely a few things that I felt like I wanted to solidify to take it to the next level. And just from seeing y'all's content and just hearing through the grapevine about what kind of person you were, and then being introduced to Glenn, I feel it was obviously the right choice.
That's awesome, man. And so what, with that, knowing that, and then going through our content, what kind of things, like what would you say is the biggest thing that you've learned that you've implemented into your business that has helped you grow your revenue and get consistent clients?
Biggest thing. I think it's figuring out really what is my offer, messaging appropriately. And then, you know, like there's a quote that we went over in the beginning that has stuck with me, that what gets measured gets managed.
Yep.
And I wasn't measuring anything, you know, and now I feel so much more confident with already the pieces that I knew, but just having this next level of organization, and then, you know, really checking in, identifying my actual avatar for where I want to be. What do I want to make? The clients that I want to work with, and then having a line, and not just necessarily taking clients because I need or want the money, but actually setting up my business with the people that I want to work with, that want to be rock stars, that want to align with their potential.
Yeah. I mean, that what get measured gets managed idea by Dave Drucker is such a powerful one. I mean, it's so easy in my opinion, because if you go, oh, if I have 10 hours of clients, I'll be as busy as I want. I might even have a 6-figure business. And you go, okay, great. Well, how many people did you talk to this week? Oh, none. Like, okay, well, we're not off to a good start here. And then, but once you have the numbers and you're like, well, if I talk to 50 people, and of those 50 people, I can convert 20% of them. And then in 6 weeks, I can talk to 50 people. That's no problem. That's just 8-9 people a week. Great. You got to know those numbers. You got it. So I'm glad that was such a game-changing quote for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like just going through my notes, going through these videos, when I am speaking to people now, like I really do I have my messaging down, and I know what to look for, and I feel just very, very aligned and confident that when anybody does step through my front door, that they're going to stay a client.
Yes, which is key, retention.
Mm-hmm.
So now the one thing that I found really interesting, and we've had this conversation with a few people, but I'd love to hear with you, is that you have invested into education quite a bit before. You have done other mentorship style programs, and you mentioned how much different this one is compared to others. And without naming any names, I'm just wondering if you could kind of speak to that experience a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of mentorships, I've been very fortunate to work with some really intelligent people that are kicking ass in the fitness, wellness, holistic health circle. But one thing I felt like was lacking for me is you can, and as you know, like we can be the most sound technical people on the planet, and somewhat diluting yourself with just learning and filling up your mind with this like ability, if you're not able to execute strategies for business, you know. And I feel like that for me was the biggest thing that was missing, is I didn't necessarily have a full understanding of how, like, okay, so this is all great, this is amazing, like if I have somebody in here, this is awesome, but how do I actually execute the business side of what I do? And I feel like with y'all's mentorship, you know, it's like we talked recently, we go into technique stuff, you know, at certain points, but really this is about systematizing and organizing the business side, how to sell yourself appropriately and set yourself up for success.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. You said something important there. And I think, you know, if anyone looks at any of the content we do on social media, I know I'm always harping on the idea, like, don't just be a great technician. You got to work on the business side of things. And it sounds so soundbitey, but there needs to be that separation. There's a gentleman that works here is one of the mentors because he's one of the best professionals I know named Taylor. And he's been working with me since I opened the doors at the gym. And if you ever meet him, I mean, he's one of the nicest guys, best communicators, and incredible technician. When I met him, he suffered with social anxiety in a huge, huge way, like huge, paralyzing. Talk to somebody, you go, have to go be in the office alone for a few minutes. But he's one of the brightest guys I knew. He was, and he still is. He was so bright though, and he couldn't communicate that he was unable to grow his business for the first year. He struggled really, really hard. And I told him, listen, stop studying all the technical stuff for 1 year, focus on just communication. And he did. And now he's one of the busiest guys in here. And now he handles all the sales calls, but it's just learning how to get your messaging right and getting yourself presented in front of the right person at the right time with the right price and the right service. And you can make it rain.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
It's fun. So, when going through this mentorship, what would you say, like if someone said, hey, Brand, I'm thinking about, hiring these guys, what would you say they could expect from working with us?
I think you'll have a roadmap of what to follow and a path to go down. And I think from there, it's like, you're going to have forks in the road and you're going to have things come up, but it's the understanding that's part of the process and expecting it. And then just having, I think, the ability to check in with you guys to go over that. So it's like, we're reviewing our game footage to get better and understanding what are the steps to take it to the next level. And, one thing for me is I love speaking about this, but I think just over the past few years, I was like, you know what? I don't want to participate very much in social media. I just want to get busy because I love doing this. And I realized that I was missing out essentially on bringing more people in and building my business up to the point where I can't take new clients. And it's doing the things that we have to do. Like you said earlier, it's great if I want to see 30 or 35 people a week, but if I only have 15 or 20 clients right now, like what else am I going to do? And I think one thing you guys have showed is there's a lot of ways to lean into that. We can ask for referrals. We can go around asking allied professionals. We can make sure there's a mutual benefit for growth. And I feel like when we illustrate it and explain it that way to people, they're much more willing to let you into their world or to give you access to their patients, clients, et cetera. And I feel like that's been the thing. For instance, I'll give an example. We set up a demo for me about a month ago, right? And just from doing that demo, I've had 6 clients come in that are now active clients just from one. And I just had another call from somebody reaching out. So I think that's very cool. And
6, maybe 7.
Yeah. And so I think it's just having the strategies at hand just on what to do. And then just being able to ask you guys questions. Hey, this is what's pertaining to me circumstantially. What do you suggest? Because you guys, you've been there and you're doing it right now.
Yeah, I love it, man. So you said something about social media, and I'm just wondering, as a professional, how your view on using social media as a tool has changed. Because what you said is really not an uncommon thing. I've talked to a lot of people like, I don't like that social media thing. I'm not going to do that social media thing. But unfortunately, it's a necessary beast with the way that the economy and just socializing in general is going.
Yeah, so I see it now more like a business card. Honestly, like I've had people actually reach out through social media that have come in. I've had 2 people in the past month just DM me on a whim. Hey, it seems like you're doing really cool things. I'd love to check it out. And that's just from me posting videos and just talking through my thought process or explaining what I'm doing, and just, I think it is a way to level up. And I feel like now when I am going out and speaking to people, if they don't know who I am and they check out my website or my social media, I have much more confidence, and because it looks legitimate now, and it's still a work in process, but even with the simple modifications I've made, I'm already seeing more feedback and getting more responses.
That's amazing, man. So here's the discussion point for you, because I'd love to hear what you think about this and get your mind ruminating on it. I know you mentioned, so, you got introduced to the muscle activation world and then resistance training world. And one of the conversations, and I know I've talked about it in my marketing, but when I say something, it sounds like I'm being salesy. I want to ask your opinion on it. You've told me that you were kind of stuck in this fixer world where people would view you as a repair person, technician, who they got a problem, they come see, you patch them up, and then they go. and that really was impacting your business in a way that you weren't super excited about. And I'm just wondering if you could speak to that problem and how your philosophy around that's kind of changed over the last little while.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, it feels really good when you're the fix-it guy. At least it did for me, because I was like, hey, I'm this dude. Like, yes, look what I'm doing. Like, and this is fulfilling. I'm making a difference, and people value me. But then I would go through these periods of just being like swamped for about 6 weeks, and then having crickets. We're like, what is happening with my business? Don't these people want to feel better? Don't they? And everybody that I would reach out to is like, dude, I'm feeling great. There's no need to come back in right now. I'll let you know when I don't. And I think that creates a few problems. That creates this type of client, even if they aren't necessarily like this, but it's like, I don't want to participate. I just want you to fix me. I don't want to do my homework. This is all on you. Everything that is happening right now falls on you. And if I get better, it's on you. And if I don't get better, it's on you. Where that doesn't feel super fulfilling. And then in terms of getting my business to where I wanted it, and that's where you guys came in. It's like, well, I have this expertise as a trainer, as a mechanic specialist. It's really the education and transitioning from just fixing to actually progressing. And from there, like, what if we were proactive about this and it didn't keep happening? Because a lot of people I was seeing, I just had to put fires out, which is, it was dissatisfying. And so as great as it was in the beginning, and getting a reputation for myself as being somebody who fixes people. And I think now I just feel much more fulfilled, and people come in and they get excited and they're doing their homework, and it's more feedback based. And this is the type of relationship that I want as well.
Yeah. That fixing thing too, you said something that you said like, well, it feels really good, but it also doesn't feel good when it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Right. And they've got the expectations that it's going to be a home run. And you're like, well, it's not going to be a home run this time. But there's something beautiful about it. And that's what I love. And it's kind of fun, because if you go to the extreme of like trying to quote unquote fix people, there's some cool stuff that can happen there. But I think the real magic is getting that skill set and learning how to take someone through their entire life with it. Because they get way more benefit from it than just, coming in and being repaired and then going out, and then they go play hockey for 12 weeks and they don't do anything in between, and they hurt themselves and they come back. Well, if they just do a little bit in between, even if it's a half hour once a week or a couple half hours, or you can make some incredible changes. And that's where you see the long term, plus a nice reoccurring revenue model rather than a up and down model.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've essentially, just by doing that, filled in the gaps financially of really where I want to be. And obviously I'm still a work in progress, but it's fulfilling to see my schedule from week to week filling up and people continuously wanting to come back.
That's amazing.
And I really do. I view exercise as meditation. I view it as a way to test ourselves and take inventory on ourselves. And, the whole RTS and, everything Greg Mack teaches and all that, it's really ownership. Internally, where are you at? And so I ask people a lot when I see them. I have something now where it's like, okay, based on where you are today, where would you say you are? And that's physiology, physical, mental, spiritual. Where's your well-being? It's like, well, I'm at a 5. And then people leave, dude, I'm at an 8.5, or I'm at a 9, or I'm at a, whatever it is. And that is through exerting themselves appropriately to what they need, and then just building upon it. And like, I work with certain entrepreneurs here in Austin. And one of the girls that I've been working with, super successful, she hasn't seen me for about 2 weeks. She's been traveling for business. And she tells me today, I would never have been able to travel on 4 planes a week, doing all the work I've done before doing this and before doing the workout piece. And so she came in, we did a little bit of table, and then everything else was resistance. She left feeling great and already texted me just like a bicep curl,
That's so awesome. So here's another kind of like, thought-provoking question for you. One thing that you've mentioned to me about your worldview and philosophy a few times is that you're a bit of a spiritual, energetic person. And I've met some people who have embodied that. And as an entrepreneur, I would say from an aggregate business perspective, have kind of struggled, because they're like, this is what I need to be doing this week. And then I need to be doing something else. And the ebb and flow of where they are in that moment isn't aligning with consistently working on their business. And you, outside of a couple small things we've talked about, sound like you've been really, really consistent on your business, just depending on where you're putting your attention. I'm wondering, how do you juggle that balance?
Well, I feel like understanding I can only do what I can do. And again, like what do I have control over? And so I think just being a sensitive person to life, and just very empathetic to energy anyway. And I feel like with what's been going on in the world the past few years, like there was some confusion because I was thinking bigger picture, like what is happening right now? And feeling that deeply, like things just seem strange. Like what's the point of whatever in business, right?
Yeah.
But then really taking a deeper look on what matters to me and all of the work that I put into this, it's like, well, that can still be happening, and I can I can check in and just do what I need to do. And that's all it really is just it's pushing myself and realizing that, thoughts are going to come and go, but I'm the traffic cop navigating them like, hey, good to see you. I've got a job to do and I've got a mission and a purpose, and I'm going to kick ass today.
You are going to kick ass today. I love
that's where it's at, man. So things are good. I feel really good about business, about my results with clients. And I feel like I'm just getting better and just getting started.
You are, man. I love it. So a couple more questions for you, and then I think that'll be a great place for us to put a pin in it. And I really honor and appreciate your time so much. You're also someone who is working from your home, and you got a beautiful little dog family I can hear in the background there. And I'm just wondering, how is it growing a business working out of your home space?
Well, yeah. So for those listening, I have turned my condo's garage into the lab. Essentially, I have like 10 machines in there and my table and just a bunch of whiteboards. But I feel like it was great in the beginning because I was very busy and like I can just go over here and execute. I think the hurdles to it were just the professionalism piece. But then I felt for me, that's just a thought. I think if you're fixing and helping and executing appropriately, and if you are really kicking ass and you let people know that you are worth your salt, I don't think it really matters. And so obviously I'm going to be transitioning here at some point in the near future, and I'm in talks to do so. But I just feel like right now, what matters to me is getting my business so rock solid that I have to get a bigger space. And so I don't think it really matters. I think if it's up to the person, and I think it speaks volumes of really what I've been able to do, that I have, seen as many people as I have from my garage.
Yeah, no, honestly. And your garage, I mean, anyone who's watching this, you need to check out getneurofit.com so you can see some of brand. You got to put some more pictures up, man. You got some good equipment in there.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but it's cool. A lot of the clientele I have, like I have people from all walks of life. I have a lot of high school athletes, college athletes. I've got certain celebrities, which, doesn't really matter. I love them all. But what's cool about them is nobody has said anything about coming to my space. They're like, dude, this is amazing. And everybody's very excited about it, and it's super comfortable, and we can rock and roll with no distractions.
Okay, you brought up something that I want to ask you. I think that'd be kind of fun. You've told me a few times that you work with some different celebrity and high level people, and I've done the same. And you definitely get way more in Austin, Texas, because there's way more people that live in hot places. No one wants to live in Ontario, Canada. It's awful. But one thing that really has blown my mind with working with higher level people is they're not any different. They are the same people. They have a little more status. There's like 1% more fear when they walk in the door. She's like, well, I hope I don't make a mistake here, because a lot more people are going to hear about it than somebody down the street. But they're just real people, same problems. I mean, what would you say to anybody who ends up having a celebrity or high level person call them to try and dissuade fears and anxieties?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. They're just people, and they want to be treated that way. And I feel like, anybody that comes through my door, whoever they are, I greet them with warmth and just authenticity. And I think just realizing like our relationship is sacred, and, will remain as such. But also on that end, I have the same expectations for them in my space. And so that's really, I think, how to navigate it.
I love it. Cool. 2 more questions for you there, sir.
Okay.
Of this mentorship thing, who would you say our Fitness Pro mentorship is for?
Man, I feel I honestly feel like your mentorship is for anyone. I mean, from the personal trainer starting out to somebody that's been doing it for a while and doesn't necessarily know the steps to fluidly follow to get their business rocking and rolling. I think this is for everybody. I mean, especially if you like to learn and you're not afraid to put in a little bit of work, because let's be real, like you have to participate.
Have to.
In your own rescue. And so I mean, I've suggested it to a lot of people. And I feel like it surprises me when anybody says like this is what they're passionate about and what they want to do, that they're not willing to invest in this, because it's a small price to pay for that next level.
Yeah.
And again, I just feel like if you are competent and you're confident, I mean, that the rest will solve itself. And so I'm super grateful and just really excited. So I recommend it to everybody.
So this is more bigger than Fitness Pro Mentors, but just coming back to Mr. Brandon Davis. If a personal trainer is struggling and stuck within their career and they want to make more money, help more people, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you would personally and professionally give them?
So if they want to help more people and make more money, a few things. I think first and foremost, really figure out where you want to take it, what direction. And then, I mean, I feel like you can't put aside the fact that you're going to have to get out there, and you're going to have to study every day. And I feel like that's what I do. I luckily, like, I do love to learn and read, but minimum I'm putting in a few hours a day for that. I'm putting in a few hours a day for this. And I think just check in because the time is right, and there's no time like the present. Study movement, study everything, and philosophy, psychology, and get out there.
I love it, man. Brandon, dude, thank you so much it's been great getting to know you. It's really incredible seeing you grow. Thank you for being a part of this mentorship, and thank you for being just a badass and professional.
They're the dogs, like right on time.
Perfect.
Apologies. Yeah, man. Thank you. I really feel honored, and I look forward to what's to come, man.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for your time, man. And where can people find you?
Sorry, man. They can go to getneurofit.org. My Instagram is Brandon Clark Davis, and Get NeuroFit Austin. And I would love to connect.
Cool, everybody. Awesome. Thanks, dogs. We'll talk to you soon, Brandon.
Day, man.